Welcome to Etsy Shadow and Etsy Password hash and file formats. In this video, we're going to be catting out Etsy Shadow, catting out Etsy Password, and taking a much deeper look at those files to figure out what we can learn about the hashes and the users themselves. Now, I showed you in the previous video, I am running as a basic user on our session, so we're actually going to use our Kali attack box for the specific lab. Cat Etsy Shadow, put in our password, and we get our first chunk of information here. If you look at our general table up here, we should be able to line this up. So let's kind of walk through this rogue operator hash right here. So we have our user account here that correlates to this field 1 over here, login name. And then the next chunk up to the colon, let me select it over here. This correlates to our field 2, which is encrypted password. And then this number here, this is how many days since the last epoch time that the user has changed their password. Now, if you go over to this cool website, epochconverter.com, you'll see one of the sections about Unix epoch time. I already got my number plugged in here, but if we click convert, we can see that number converted straight to the date that this password was last set. Pretty cool. After that, we have the minimum and maximum password age. It looks like this system does not have very strict controls on when the password should be set. Password warning period, and just a few defaults here at the end. So definitely a lot of cool stuff we can learn about hashes. Let's jump to this next table. Etsy Shadow hash types right here. Typically, I'll need to enumerate the hash type if I'm running some type of password cracking software against it. That said, tools like John the Ripper are actually pretty good at checking the hash and just figuring this out for itself. Typically, I don't need to tell it what type of hash algorithm was used. However, if you do need to figure that out, this table is gonna come in handy for you. If you look at the very beginning of our hash, $6, you can actually correlate it to the table here and see that the SHA-512 algorithm was used to encrypt this password. Now, SHA-512 is really strong. That tells me that this system is set up in a very secure way. In that sense, they're not using old password hashing algorithms, so that's good on them. And there's a lot more we can figure out about users in the Etsy password file. So let me cat Etsy password. Again, we are on our Kali machine, so definitely keep that in mind as we look through this stuff. Kind of correlating to the table above, just like we did with the file hashing, we can see that the first section here is indeed our username, which we can probably expect since we saw a rogue operator there. In this next section, if you see an X there like we do, that means that our password hash is located in the Etsy Shadow file. This is our user ID, our primary group ID. This is the user's name full typed out. So if my username was something really short, maybe it was just N Downer, this would say something more like Nick space Downer. We have the user's home directory location, and finally, the user's default shell. So although these files look complex, all these different colons and codes for things, you can actually break them down and decipher a little bit more, understanding how their hashes are set up and their users are set up. That's a wrap on this video. Hope you found it helpful. We'll see you in the next one.